The views and opinions expressed by the following program are those of the host, guest, and callers and are not necessarily those of this station or the Webster Rockhill Ministries, its management, or other host or underwriting sponsors. Programs presented on KWRH-LP are for educational and entertainment purposes only.
Welcome back to In Tune. This is Arnold Stricker. Mark Langston is still on assignment down in Florida. I think he's working his way back here. He will be back in the studio tomorrow. In studio right now, we have Carol Commerford, who's the director of the Community Music School of Webster University, and Dana Hotle, who's the executive director of the Chamber Project St. Louis and their clarinet player, by the way.
That's right. You play clarinet.
I play clarinet. That's right.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
I play flute.
There we go.
You do too?
We should start a trio.
Oh, yeah, a trio.
There we go.
That'd be great. Yeah. My fingers don't work as well as they used to. But
Mine don't either. It's
that's
okay.
just age, you know.
That's what we call it, age.
So, ladies, you are here to, we were originally, and we still are, talking about the Young Composers Competition, and that was going to have a culminating performance coming up here.
Yes.
But I tell you what, let's talk about the what that actually is, and then let's talk about the details of the performance that have kind of been put on hold because of the coronavirus.
Absolutely. Well, it's a really wonderful program. We started about 15 years ago, and I want to acknowledge Arden and Harry Fisher, who are the sponsors of the program, but also, helped me originate the whole concept and idea. And the whole concept and idea is to recognize and encourage young composers. And we're doing this through a competition. And we have two levels of that competition. So we have level 1, which is we get submissions from students who are 12 to 16 years of age, and level 2, and we get submissions from students who are 17 to 21 years of age. So we have two levels for the competition, and they send in their creative work, and we have a panel of judges who made up of published composers from the St. Louis area, and they review the works and select two winners in each category, a first and second place in each category. And we have a guest composer. This year it's Angelica Negron. And the guest composer then is sent these winning works, and she writes a critique. And that's something that the students get and benefit from greatly. And typically she and the winners would all come to campus, and we would have workshops, and we have a concert where their works are performed by professional musicians. And we have started doing this with Chamber Project St. Louis, so we have excellent musicians. And that is recorded, so they get a professional recording of professional musicians playing their original works, which in many cases is the first time they've ever had a recording of their works. And then they also have this amazing opportunity to conference, meet with, discuss their works in the field of composition with an amazing guest composer. So that's basically the what draws people to this program. And side benefits of that is that these young composers get to know each other, they network, we've been doing this for 15 years now, so some of our young composers from the early years, run into each other at other composition events nationally in colleges and, as professionals, and so it's really a wonderful way to build and encourage young composers.
And this has been going on for how long now again?
15 years.
15 years.
Yes, thank
Wow.
you to Arden and Harry Fisher.
Wow. And now when they compose, I have here, they should be for 2 to 7 members of a music ensemble?
Yes, just out of logistics and that kind of thing.
We don't need a full symphony orchestra here.
We didn't feel like we could have. Now, we did have a student who had written a full symphony orchestra, and in order to enter that into our competition, he decided to make it a quartet, a string quartet. So, but typically, they're submitting music that is for 2 to 7 musicians. We also have a time limitation on it. I think it's up to 15 minutes, just out of basic logistical concerns.
Right. And Dana, how has this been received from the musicians that you work with when they have to? Because you guys kind of do all these new pieces all the time.
Yeah, I mean, this fits so well with the mission of what Chamber Project does. I mean, we have our own commissioning project of younger professional composers. And so this was, I thought, a very natural fit that we could be a part of what this great program at the Community Music School is doing. And so we were really excited to be a part of it. And I think the musicians are excited to, just to see the talent and the commitment of this younger generation is very inspiring and rewarding.
And it's great for us because since they are professional musicians who are accustomed to playing, more contemporary pieces, and our students, they're submitting works and they have, classical music, traditional music as the foundation, but they're sort of breaking their barriers and they're flexing their muscles into other boundaries beyond the typical boundaries. So it's important to have musicians who are committed to that, who are committed to this experimentation that these young composers are doing, and comfortable with sometimes the, outside of the norm type of composition. So that's not always easy to find sometimes.
Right.
And particularly since so nice to work with Chamber Project St. Louis because we know we have a group of musicians, and sometimes it's hard to pull that together once we know what the winners are.
Now, this performance was going to take place when?
It was to take place on March 21st, Saturday, March 21st, at the Community Music School on the campus of Webster University.
And it was going to be open to the public. Now, you guys are still going to record those things, correct?
Absolutely.
Right. So we're going to move ahead with the schedule that was set up. And instead of making it a public event, we're going to record those. And my understanding is that the Justin, who's managing this at the Community Music School, is going to get the raw files, even if they aren't very polished yet. And he's just going to get them off to all of the students so they can all hear each other's work. And they can, I think they're going to, I'm loving this term lately, they're going to beam in Angelica Negron and they're going to have like a conference masterclass. So they get that kind of group experience of working together as students and hearing each other's work. And I think anyone who's an artist understands the value of watching someone, like, you learn a lot when you watch a master critique someone else's work, actually.
Absolutely.
And you can get a lot of inspiration from, oh, look at what that person did. That's so cool, and that's a great idea. And how does that tie into what I do? And so I think that's a really valuable experience. And I'm really glad that since we're going to be able to record these works, they're going to be able to get that experience, from this competition and, have this. I mean, we're so lucky, the age of Facebook and streaming and everything, that we can connect with each other, even though we're not, they can't come in from all over the country to do this.
Yeah, and we're having this discussion because hopefully we were planning on, encouraging people to go to the Community Music School to watch this on March 21st, but since it's been postponed because of the coronavirus, let's back up now. When did this, I guess, do I call it? Yeah, competition. When did the competition, when was it opened? Like, when could people apply? How long ago were people notified, hey, the 2020 competition is open and here's the criteria, et cetera, like that? Well,
because we had Angelica Negron scheduled, because she's so busy a couple of years in advance, we were able to open it really last spring, early summer. The deadline for submissions was in October, was in October. And then we were able to notify the winners by early January.
Okay. So budding composers or people who might be interested in participating in this for next year, what are you thinking about as far as deadlines and things like that?
It'll be pretty much the same. It'll be in October.
Okay.
And so, yeah, they should just, think in terms of 2 to 7 parts to cover. And, within, the 3 to 15 minute or 2 to 15 minute time generally. And sometimes when people have multi-movements piece that they've already had, they're already working on, they might just submit a couple of movements from that piece if their piece in total is more than the 15-minute
So they don't
limit.
just submit a score, we
ask them to have a MIDI,
okay,
or, you can put it into Finale and it can produce, a MIDI type version of it so that the guest composers can listen to it, even though it's not a live performance.
Okay.
But that really helps a lot. And then we also have their actual scores.
Composers have this amazing thing about how they can just look at the music and hear multiple parts of it at once, right? Like I can look at one line of music and know how it's going to sound, but to see a whole score and go, I kind of see how this is going to work, and they can hear it in their heads. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
I wonder if they have 16 ears on their head or something like that. Like I can barely hear
They
what
have
I'm
an
supposed to
extra
hear.
part in their brain
Yeah.
the rest of us don't have.
And if people want information, they can go to the Young Composers Competition site on Webster University.
Yeah, it's
website.
webster.edu/CMS-YCC.
Okay, and we'll come back to that. So you have, how many people do you remember submitted works for this?
This year, about 40. We've
Wow.
had as many as 60.
Wow.
For some years. So yeah, it's a big job for our composition judges who are sorting through all those
Right.
works, and it's fascinating because when we first started this, we had no idea how many 12-year-olds are out there composing music. Well,
Right.
that first year, a 12-year-old won in level 1.
Wow.
And went on to get to an ASCAP award, later
Wow.
on in the junior division. So yeah, we were surprised and pleased and overjoyed at the fact that there are things going on that young, and really reinforce the fact that this is important. We've got to really encourage this and support this and help it grow. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
And it's national too, because I saw some
Yes.
people who have submitted works from
We have it from all over
Nevada?
the country. Every border. We've got them from the north, south, east, and west, and beyond. Actually, we've had submissions this year from China, and we've had submissions on other years from Taiwan and Portugal and England. We had a winner one year in level
Wow.
2 who was from England. Unfortunately, he was in finals, so he couldn't come to St. Louis for the event. But
That's a bummer.
I was thrilled that he was even thinking about
that's
Yeah.
cool.
traveling
That's
to
cool.
it. So
And,
that meant a lot.
and when I got the scores, the level is so high, and that they said, all right, these are the wing pieces, these are the people, these are the ensembles you need to pull together, and they sent me the scores, and I was like, wow. I mean, in the early years, I played some of the pieces, and I was pretty impressed then, but I think it's just gotten better and better and
Every
better.
year, it's amazing.
astonishing, actually, how the level at which these young people are writing. And I mean, I was like, we're going to have to schedule some extra rehearsals
Yeah,
for some
yeah.
of these pieces. I mean, they're really challenging. I mean, it's great stuff. So we're sorry to have to miss it, but it'll be back next year.
Absolutely.
Is there a way that you can broadcast those, or is that
I think
something
it's
that we could
something-
broadcast for
We
you
could
guys?
certainly consider that. I think we
Yeah,
would have to
cool.
get the permission of the composers, which I think would probably jump at the opportunity to have their works heard.
That'd be fascinating.
I think so. I've been thinking about that as well.
Now, a question. So, do you have one winner per category, or
We
are
have
there
2 per category,
two
of
per
first
cat-
and second place.
first and second place?
And,
Okay.
and it's pretty clear cut this year of first and second place in level 1 and level 2. There have been years where not too far behind the second place, was someone who was pretty close in the rankings, and so we've done an honorable mention.
Right.
And there has been circumstances where they're exactly even. So we've had 2 second place
Sure.
or 2 first place.
Sure.
But this year was pretty clear cut first and second place.
Now, how do you pick the guest composer that you're going to work with, that's going to work with the students? Is that something that you guys collaborated on, or is that something that
Well, it's
has
something we probably will collaborate more on in the future. We have a committee of composers with Community Music School and Webster University composition faculty who help us. Justin Blackburn, who is our Community Music School staff person who runs this program, is a composer himself, so he has brilliant ideas. And as a result of all that collaboration, we agree on a composer and contact them and see if they, can make time to
Absolutely
work with us.
top-notch composers are coming in for this. I mean, if you look back on who's been coming, and Angelica Negron's huge. I mean, Nilo, who came last name?
Oh.
Nilofar, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Norbach.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, Chamber Project had programmed one of her pieces to play tomorrow night, which we had to cancel. But from that exposure to her, actually, we picked up on her, and our work are going to start performing her music. And I mean, didn't Shulamit Ron come?
Shulamit
And, I
Ron
mean, just
came.
huge names. I mean, some of the biggest names.
And in the very
country.
early
It's
years,
great.
we had Claude Baker, who was at one time in residence with the St. Louis Symphony. So, yeah, we've had some pretty amazing composers, and
yeah.
that's, I'm sure, what draws people, to
Right.
Yeah.
to the program, to have that interaction with those composers, and really in the composition world, that's how they build their portfolio.
Right.
Is by entering competitions, being able to say that they placed in competitions. That's sort of a composer's portfolio.
And that networking with other composers, I think, is really
Very
a critical
important.
part of. It's really hard to make a living as a composer, and that networking, every little thing you do matters so much.
And I think you feel isolated sometimes. I mean, there's not, if you look at the student population, if you're in a high school, how many, sophomores are out there composing music
Right.
like this? Well, it's probably a very, very small number. And it's so wonderful for them to be able to come and be a part of a community.
Now, I'm
while
sure
they're
there's
here.
other cities that have competitions like this. Do you know?
There's some other cities out there. I think Mizzou has a composition
Correct.
project that they do. And
There's one in LA, at least one.
there's one of the ones.
Phil has one, right?
There's a Fear No Music project, which is actually, that was sort of the basis for us getting into this, because Arden and Harry Fisher have grandchildren who are in, I can't remember if that's Washington.
Yeah, Fear No Music, Kenji Bunch.
Yeah. In Washington, their grandchildren were a part of that program, and it's as a result of that they had the idea of starting our program.
Oh, that's
Wow.
a great connection.
Wow.
Cool.
And this seems to be a great collaboration between Chamber Project St. Louis and Community Music School with
Absolutely.
this. That you guys scratch each other's back, that you get to perform this music that these
Yeah.
composers have. And I think really especially that you can link together and say, hey, we'd like to bring in this composer. And it's kind of like a double
Yeah.
duty on that.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely, and the St. Louis Symphony staff was really excited that we were bringing in Angelica, because they knew of her. And they were excited about being able to meet her and come to the workshop. So it's it's pretty interesting how it's becoming the type of thing where you bring a composer in, and we're paying for them to get here, and yet
Right.
a lot of people could benefit from their time here. Which
Right, right.
We
Wow.
partner a lot with the Department of Music, and when we bring a composer in, that sometimes they choose to do a program with that composer as well.
Yeah, past guest composers, Claude Baker, Zach Browning, John Cheatham, James Moberly, Lansing McCloskey, Don Freund.
Don Freund.
Freund? Freund? Yeah, it depends on which German pronunciation
That's
I guess
right.
you want to utilize there. Stephen Dankner, Jared Spears, just a wide variety. And this is something else that needs to continue, folks, because we see a lot of I want to say diminishing focus on the arts, and we talked about this in our previous hour, that unless you have the means to do this, many times on a private basis, especially if the schools aren't promoting it as thoroughly maybe as they should, you may get lost in these kinds of things. And the schools are many times are the catalyst for a lot of youth to keep these things really on fire in their heart, and to keep them focusing on these things. So is there an outreach that you guys have to any of the schools around the area as it relates to the competition? You probably send information out to them.
We definitely send information out to all the area schools, and there was a couple of years in the past where we partnered with, I think this was the Rockwood School District, and they had some students who were in music theory composition classes, and a lot of those students were considering entering their works. Now, some of those students are not at the level to be able to win, but what we did was we provided a certificate of participation for their accomplishment, to have created a work and submitted it and have it judged. And I should say that anybody who submits a work to the Young Composers Competition, they will get an evaluation, if you will, from the composition committee. Three judges are listening and reviewing these works, so they will get three forms of feedback about their work: constructive criticism, compliments, that sort of thing. So no matter whether they win or not, there's an educational bonus for them.
That's a big deal. And I'm asking this question because obviously I don't know. Is composition part of the community music school? Like I can come in and I can...
We do have individual composition lessons.
Okay.
John Thomas is probably the key person who offers that. He's one of the members of the committee for the Young Composers Competition. We've got some other teachers who teach music theory and that sort of thing too. We also have a composition intensive in the summertime. It's a 2-week program, and it's for middle school and high school students who, and they, as you know, the minimum requirement is that they read music, they play an instrument, they sing, whatever. And but then we have students who also have been composing already and have some degree of expertise already in development. So they come to our program for 2 weeks. And Dana used to be a coach
for a
for
long
this,
time, yeah.
for many, many years.
Yep.
And so John Thomas and David Nalesnik and are the key instructors for that. And so they learn about composition. We have a trio of 3 instruments, specific instruments each year, and Dana's been one of those instruments also.
Of course, the clarinets.
Yeah.
They rotate the instrumentation, I think, which is nice. So if kids want to come year after year after year, they learn a new instrument to write for.
That's good.
Which is really nice, I think, because it's mostly local.
Yeah.
Day camp students, and they do like to come year after year. There's students who come back,
repeat.
So it's a lot of fun to do that. And that group dynamic is really interesting there, and the age difference. You've got quite a spread of ages,
right.
And that's also actually really interesting. I think all the kids like that. The little kids like being they're not little, they're middle school students, but they like to be, that interaction I think is really nice. And they learn from each other and they support each other. And we do this sort of slapdash concert on the last day, or, when I've done it, and because they're still in progress. A lot of these pieces aren't quite done yet. But we just do what they've got out there, and
right.
Oh man, they just love it. They just love it. It's exciting.
Right. Dana, can you brief us on Chamber Project St. Louis? What's going on here? We've got a couple minutes.
So we have had to cancel our concert tomorrow night at the chapel, and which is unfortunate. So you can see our website for more about that. We're moving forward with the recording project the following week with the Young Composers Competition. The week after that, we were to have a very open rehearsal, which is one of the cool things we do. With the St. Louis County Libraries, but they're still open, but they're not doing group events.
Right.
But we're going to see if we can do a virtual, very open rehearsal and use Facebook and have people can type in their questions as we
That'd
rehearse.
Be great.
And we're going to see. We have some technical things to figure out for that. So if anybody has ideas, we could use your help.
Hardwire.
Like, how good does the sound need to be is our biggest,
right.
We don't have any fancy microphones. So will my phone be enough? Anyway,
you'd be surprised.
They surprisingly good sound, actually.
Yeah.
It condenses it the right way. And anyway, so we might see if we can pull that off. So stay tuned if we can do, because everyone's going to need something to do.
Right.
Yeah. So
That'd
you can tune in from your living room and do a very open rehearsal. And then beyond that, we're just going to wait and see. Hopefully all this preventative measure is enough, and we can, get this virus out of here.
For folks to get more information on Chamber Project St. Louis, they should?
It's chamberprojectstl.org.
Okay. And again, of the Young Composers?
It's webster.edu/CMS-YCC.
And we will post this interview when we get done on Apple Podcasts and SoundCloud, and get that information also on there. And folks, please take advantage of the arts in your community. You have a lot of things happening, not only in Webster Groves, but also around the whole St. Louis area. It's great to participate in these things, and maybe you can't get them all, but maybe you can just get one or two along the way and get a variety, because it's always good to have a very broad spectrum of background in that. So, ladies, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
Thank
Carol
you
and
for
Dana,
having
thanks
us.
for coming.
Thanks.
Good to see you again, Dana.
Good to see you.